The sixth round of the championship saw the teams return to the Slovakia ring, and once again it was a strong weekend for the V1 racing team. There was a bit of a kerfuffle in the mid-pack, which meant Fred Makovicky picked up damage on his McLaren at the first corner. And as the cars came down into turn 3, Makovicky lost control of his McLaren through the chicane, getting all out of shape, just about keeping it out of the crash barriers. But that was the end of the Hexus McLaren's race, much to the disappointment of Philippe Dumas. Up at the front, Jelmer Berman was controlling the race, but the battle was on for second place. Marc Basseng losing out in the end to Niki Meermanhoff through the tight infield section. Meermanhoff forcing his way past the Alinkel.com Munich Motorsports Mercedes. Ortelli and Basseng then coming to blows into turn 8. Basseng holding on to that third position for the time being. There was also a battle between the second Mercedes and second Audi. This time Oliver Jarvis managed to find his way past the number 37 Mercedes, driven at the time by Nicky Pastorelli on the run into turn 2. It was retirement for Enzo Ede after just 9 laps, picking up a puncture on his Ferrari. And at the pit stop, Jelmer Berman handed over to his teammate Michael Bartels. The pit stop was slick, and they came out comfortably in the lead of the race, ahead of their teammates. The 17 car now driven by Matthias Lauda. Stefan Ortelli lost out in the pit stops when he handed over to Laurens Vanthoor. They had the pace to be challenging for the win, but ended up coming out in 4th position, only just behind the 38 car of Marcus Winkelhock. Oliver Jarvis then started to make some moves, that position getting past Tony Verlander to take 5th position. Alvaro Perez was pushing a little bit too hard, and that ripped up the rear bumper of his McLaren, meaning the safety car had to come out when the debris was removed. Matthias Lauda was struggling when the safety car came in, and he lost that second position to Marcus Winkelhock, but it was Michael Bartels and Jelmer Berman who took the championship race victory and extended their lead at the top of the Drivers' Championship at the Slovakia ring. This weekend, GT1's in Moscow. Audi have struggled since the opening round in Nogaro, but finally, last time out in Slovakia, they started to get things back on track, finishing the championship race in 4th and 5th places. Laurens Vanthoor is confident that kind of form can continue here this weekend in Russia.
After Nogaro we had a difficult time, and in Slovakia we were getting back on the pace, but where we unfortunately made some errors which cost us a good result. So yeah, let's hope that we have the same pace in Slovakia, maybe a little bit better, and go back to the podium.
Michael Bartels and Jelmer Berman come into this weekend leading the Drivers' Championship in their number 18 car. But in the number 17 car, Niki Meermanhoff and Matthias Lauda have started to get into their rhythm a little bit more. But Lauda's preparation for this weekend hasn't exactly been ideal.
Normally you always arrive a day before the free practice, but I had a delay with my flight and it took me 4 hours to come from the airport to the racetrack. So I arrived too late, I went straight to the hotel, and this morning I just went out for the first time. To be honest, yeah, it's new for everyone, and the first couple of laps you just take it easy and learn the line, but we're all professionals, and normally it's always it's easy to learn a track for me, it's not that difficult.
At AF Corse Ferrari, they were at a loss to explain their lack of pace last time in the Slovakia ring. In June, Tony Verlander and Filipe Salaquada won the qualifying race, but last time out, 6th was the best they could manage in the championship race. Filipe Salaquada reckons that this circuit might suit the 458 a little better.
Hopefully the weather forecast stays good, no rain. We have different BOP for us, so which should help us.
At Ford, it's an all-new driver pairing. In 2011, Benjamin Lariche and Iman Ibrahim were competing against each other in FIA Formula 2. But this weekend, they're teammates at the Sun Red Racing team. Benjamin Lariche has already competed in GT1 this season, but it's going to be a steep learning curve for Ibrahim.
No, it's my first time on a GT car, my first time on a left-hand drive as well, so it's all new, but I think we're not that far off for the amount of laps we've done. So far the car's been running, we've done a good amount of laps today. Let's see, just need to make a few more changes for qualifying, especially on the tighter twisty bits. That seems to be our main problem.
Unfortunately, there won't be any Reiter Engineering Lamborghinis out this weekend in Russia after an incident at the Slovakia ring last time out. Albert von Taxis can explain what happened.
The steering a little bit was not making the trajectory as it was supposed to, so I went a little bit wide on the exit and went a little bit off the line, therefore got a little bit of oversteer, had to open, use the track until the to go outside of the curbs on the green bits, and which was okay as well, but unfortunately the car got a little bit of a hit on the curbs because it's quite low, and that disturbed the rear of the car another bit, so I had to open up and I couldn't come out and needed to take a bit of the grass, and on the grass it was just I was just a passenger from then on. Got a pretty good guardian angel. I'm grateful he's still up at this game.
Hexus McLaren had a weekend to forget last time out at Slovakia ring. After performing so strongly in June, in August they couldn't seem to find the pace that they'd had earlier in the year. But the Moscow Raceway should suit the MP412C a little better, and Alvaro Parent is confident that the French team can get back on track.
We're looking forward to getting to know the track and having a strong result, as last time in Slovakia we didn't have such a strong weekend. Everyone's motivated and trying harder and working harder to have a good race here in Russia.
Last time out in the Slovakia ring, Markus Winkelhock put in a brilliant last-ditch manoeuvre to take second place in the championship race on the final lap. The strength of the SLS AMG is in the fast corners, and although there aren't many of them here at the Moscow Raceway, Markus Winkelhock is still looking forward to a strong weekend.
I think we will struggle a little bit, but we try to set the car as good as possible for the slow corners, and now in the free practice I have to say the car was getting better and better, especially at the end with new tires. It was actually okay. If you can improve a little bit for the qualifying, I think we are in a good pace, and then for the race we will see, but I think it's not going to be easy this weekend for sure.
Welcome to the Moscow Raceway for the first ever race in an FIA World Championship. It's the qualifying race for the FIA GT1 World Championship here in Russia this weekend, and it should be a pretty entertaining race. My name is Jack Nichols. I've got John Watson alongside me here in the commentary box, and we've got a McLaren lockout on the front row. The Hexus car is doing a great job. Grégoire de Moustier will start on pole position with Dusseldorp alongside him. But John, it's pretty cold here.
It's not pretty cold, it's freezing, and the track temperature is about 8.6 centigrade. The reality is it isn't going to get an awful lot warmer in the 1 hour for this qualifying race.
Here's a look at the grid then. The two McLarens locking out the front row, as I say, Dusseldorp and de Moustier at the wheel there. The Ferraris should have been strong, but the rain has come down. We'll talk more about that in a few moments' time. Then we've got the two Audis in 4th and 5th positions, the two Mercedes in 6th and 7th places, with the second Ferrari in 8th. 9th is Ibrahim and Lariche in the Ford GT, and then the two BMWs right at the back of the order. Lights out on the safety car then. This race started behind the safety car because of the damp conditions. There's been no wet running so far this weekend, but now we're going to get some wet running because the race is about to start. Grégoire de Moustier on pole position, but effectively leading the race. The clock has already started, and when he comes out of this final corner, the race will be go for proper. Here we go then here at Moscow. The green flags are waved, and across the line they come. De Moustier getting a reasonable getaway. In fact, the man looking most racy is Philippe Salaquade. He sends one up the inside. De Moustier's missed his braking point as well. They've both gone off, and that allows Makovicky through. Sorry, Steph Dusseldorp is in the number 1 McLaren to move through into the lead of the race. Also trying to fight his way through is Ollie Jarvis in the Audi. He's moved up into 2nd place, so Salaquade loses out, as does Grégoire de Moustier off the start. It was always going to be tricky in those conditions into turn 1.
I mean, Grégoire de Moustier never had a pole position in a McLaren never started on a track that is cool like this is. He had enormous pressure on him. He did the best he could. Unfortunately, it wasn't good enough, and he lost the lead. All that hard work by Alvaro Perez to put that car onto pole position, all for nothing.
And here comes Oliver Jarvis. He's absolutely on it as they come towards turn 9. The Hexis team looking a little concerned because at the moment the Audi looks quicker than the McLaren. Up into the left-hander they come. There you can see the BMWs and the FIA GT3 European Championship grid are in there as well, and that's a spin for Gregoire de Moustier. He and Salaquada come together at turn 10, and that's going to drop them a long way down the field. I was just about to say the GT3 European Championship are joining the grid for this particular race. Those are the cars you can see in the second half of the running order. But Oliver Jarvis leads. Second place is his teammate Laurens Vanthoor. So whilst all that was kicking off at turn 10, we've now got an Audi 1-2.
Yeah, and Oliver Jarvis delighted to see a clear racetrack ahead of him. He's using it to his advantage. He can use whichever part of the racetrack he likes. He's not having to defend. He's not having to attack another car. Perfect position for Oliver Jarvis coming up to the end of one lap.
Bit of bodywork flying off there in the middle of the pack. You see it getting picked up again. Here's a look at the replay. Are we going to see exactly what happened to the McLaren? Looked as though him and the Ferrari came together.
I would say there's a very good chance there was contact. It wasn't particularly heavy, but because levels of grip on the racetrack, because of the temperature, because the track is damp, it's not wet, it's that damp, slick condition, which is terrible for a driver to drive on because you never know what to do.
So across the line they come. Audi's first and second for the first time since Nagaro at the very opening round of the season. Third place then is Marc Basseng. Fourth place is Steph Dusseldorp. Fifth is Nicky Pastorelli. As they come round the long turn 3 under the AMG banner, which will suit the SLSs quite nicely. And Pastorelli is the next man to attack. Up into turn 9 then comes this battle. The rain coming down a little bit harder now, and you can see in fact the GT3 car, the top GT3 car of Dominic Baumann, is starting to attack some of the slower GT1 cars as well. The rain playing out to be a real leveler here, but it's still this kind of traffic jam we're getting behind the McLaren.
Yeah, the problem with the McLaren is it doesn't work its tyres as severely as some of the other cars do, so they're struggling to get temperature into that wet weather tyre. Consequently, the grip is less, and therefore the rest of the field from the Mercedes behind, that's Nicky Pastorelli, just being backed up because of consequence. They just can't get the power down. Steph Dusseldorp is struggling with a car that he knows is potentially a race-winning car, but not in these conditions.
The Mercedes struggles in a straight line though, so he has to tuck back inside. He's then going to come under pressure from the AF Corsa Ferrari that's in there as well. That is Philippe Salaquada. Sorry, no, that's not. That's Francesco Castellacci. Salaquada's the second AF Corsa Ferrari you can see there. Dusseldorp and Pastorelli going very close to one another to the exit the final corner. Almost making contact, just about not. Matthias Lauda's looking a lot stronger in the wet than he did in the dry. Well off the pace in the dry because the BMW struggles to get its tyres up to temperature. But as Philippe Dumas watches on, he must be frustrated. McLaren in the dry seem to have this under control.
Well, I mean, frustrated is the understatement of the day. He is bitterly disappointed that the pole positioning car has been knocked out. It's back in the race, but it's way further down the field. And Fred Makowiecki, the driver and car combination, who you might say is the quickest of all in GT1, is struggling for grip all round, particularly the lower speed parts of the circuit.
Yep, down they come. And it's, well, here's a look at the replay of Dusseldorp in the number 1 McLaren and Pastorelli on the inside in the Mercedes. Dusseldorp gives him plenty of room, but then they come very close to touching on the way out here. A little bit out of shape there from Pastorelli, and perhaps that's what pushes him into the McLaren. But there's Marc Basseng still in third position behind the two Audis as this battle continues to rage, and Castellacci's now starting to get a bit bored of being behind that Mercedes, and he's going to try and attack as they come through the left-hander at turn 13. If anything, Dusseldorp seems to have pulled away, and off goes Max Nielsen. He's one of the front runners in GT3 Europe, and he has absolutely beached that one.
Yeah, that's well off the track. I think probably down somewhere around turn 10. We can't quite see from that graphic, but he's out of the car. He knows his race is run. The back of the car is buried. Let's have a look and see as he comes in, and he gets assistance. The Ferrari clearly tagged the right rear of the car, and around it went. And the worst thing was he allowed the car to roll back. If he'd had the foot on the brakes earlier, he wouldn't have rolled into the gravel, and therefore he could have got back in and finished the race.
Marc Basseng has been very quick in these recent laps. He is now starting to close in on the two Audis in front of him. But meanwhile, there's still this battle going on, and now Pastorelli finally manages to get up alongside, bumping and boring between him and Dusseldorf down the back straight. Dusseldorf will have the inside line, and the McLaren is in theory a little bit quicker down the straight line. There's Castellacci again. Look at that. You couldn't get anything between them as they come under the braking zone. Now Dusseldorf needs to get it stopped. He does get it stopped. Pastorelli will try and get the cut back, and that could work out quite well for him. But it hasn't. Good defensive driving from Dusseldorf so far.
Yeah, I mean, there's a very competitive battle going on, albeit at the pace of Stef Dusseldorf. And again, the Mercedes trying to look down the inside, but the Ferrari, it gains the advantage. Both the McLaren and Mercedes ran wide. Ferrari's got past the Mercedes, and now he's got his sights set on the tail of Dusseldorf and the McLaren.
Through turn 3 they come. Dusseldorf now has a little bit of breathing space in this battle, but it won't be long, I think, before Francesco Castellacci starts to put him under a little more pressure. Then we've got the 101 car of Dominic Baumann, the leading GT3 car at the moment, getting involved in all the fun of the mid-10s or the lower half of the top 10 in GT1. Here's a look at the replay then. And that's very, very wide from Dusseldorf. You can find more room out there.
Yeah, I mean, the reason he does that is because he's looking for grip on the outside of the corner. Even in these conditions, there will be grip on the outside. But fundamentally, he hasn't got the level of grip overall that Pastorelli and the Mercedes has. And now that we've seen the Ferrari getting through, it'll be a chase now whether the Ferrari can actually, Castellacci can run down Dusseldorf. As we look again, there was the collision with the Ford getting tagged well and truly in the rear. And that was on the exit of turn 1.
Yeah, that's Benjamin Lariche, I think, being tagged by Alexei Basov. But there you can see how much Mark Bastenga's closed in on the two Audis in front of him. Then we've got this stream of cars from 4th place, Stef Dusseldorf backwards. Stream being the operative word today. That's a little tentative look up the inside from the 101 car of Dominic Baumann. Baumann doesn't have anything to gain by overtaking the cars around him. Here comes... and a look from Pastorelli. He's got the inside line now on the Ferrari. Surely he's going to make that move stick. Yes, he is, but Baumann sees it coming, and he takes both of them. Great foresight from Baumann.
Well, I mean, it's like sending somebody a telegram. I mean, it was so obvious that Baumann was going to read that one perfectly and positioned his car in the right part of the racetrack to get the run off turn 1 and swoop by two cars. And, I mean, that's what racing's all about. Ferrari in the pit lane.
So the pit lane window is open. And in will come Philippe Salaquada to hand over to Tony Villander. And, well, the question is it dry enough for slicks? Also coming in is Michael Bartels, championship leader who we've hardly seen any of. Will he take the gamble to go on to slicks as well? Meanwhile, the two leaders are right up with one another. Lawrence Vanthoor, as we've seen, has been closing the gap to Oliver Jarvis, and now there's nothing between them. Here's Bartels.
Yeah, the idea of putting on slicks, I mean, if you want to go down that route, stay out for as long as you can. In other words, come in at the very end of the pit stop window. Don't come in at the early part of it, because you're going to benefit from being on track, as it may marginally be trying, but to go onto it very early. And if that's what they've chosen to do, to go on to slicks right now, I think that's a very, very brave call.
Yeah, by default, if you're going on to this could be a bit of a close one. They pull out of the pits right together. Villander in the Ferrari. Berman has to yield in the BMW, but by very definition of going on to slicks, you think it's going to dry up, so you'd stay out for as long as you can until it's as dry as it possibly is.
I mean, well, obviously, your teams have got their strategies. Maybe they don't think on their feet. Whatever the reasons are, certainly in the case of the Ferrari. And look, you can see, I mean, the guys are fingertip driving the car. These are the two cars exiting. Slightly better exit from the Ferrari with Villander on board, Tony Villander, and with Jelmer Bowman in the BMW. As we go back to the lead.
Out onto the start-finish straight again. And down they come, and now it's going to be Oliver Jarvis leading across the line still. Here we've got the two slick-shod cars still battling hard. Villander and Berman, two very experienced GT drivers, and they're not going to enjoy fighting like this. Now we've got the two race leaders coming up to lap them as well. So how's this going to play out? Jarvis tries to look to the outside of them as they come up into 4. Vanthoor tries to go to the inside of them. Can he take the lead of the race? He gets his nose in front. Jarvis hangs it on around the outside though, and Oliver Jarvis continues in the lead of the race, but that was a cunning effort from Lawrence Vanthoor.
Yeah, I mean, again, Vanthoor used the advantage of being behind, getting that message a little bit earlier, and put himself in the right part of the racetrack when it counted. Oliver Jarvis found himself wrong-footed because one of the two cars pushed him wide and almost pushed Swansea off the racetrack onto the grass. Nevertheless, good clean racing between the two Audi drivers, as you would expect, and as with the team.
Look at this, Vanthoor trying to do a Hakkinen from Spa in the year 2000 when he passed Michael Schumacher by going either side of Ricardo Zonta. Didn't work out this time for Vanthoor.
Yeah, but that was in a straight line.
So I think we've now got Vanthoor in the pits we have. So the white-winged Audi comes into the pit lane and he's going to hand over to Stefan Ortelli. Let's see how slick this pit stop goes, no pun intended, because it's wet's going on the car.
Yeah, for me, I mean, we've seen what Audi can do in Nagaro at the beginning of the year. They dominated the two races in very similar conditions. They've had other events where they've gotten it wrong, notably in Zolder, so they're staying with the safe plan. Put on a set of wet weather tyres, and if a track does show signs of drying up, make sure you're running the dampest parts of the track to keep the tyre intact.
So away goes Stefan Ortelli. And the interesting thing is going to be where he comes out with regards to his teammate in a lap or two's time when we see the 33 car of Oliver Jarvis come in and hand over to Frank Stippler. Out onto the circuit we go. There you can see Mark Basseng in the background has handed now over to Marcus Winkelhock. So it'll be the next lap or two where we'll find out exactly how these pit stops shake out.
The other factor that, of course, we must not forget is there are no such things as tyre warmers as the lead Audi comes into the pit lane. So it's a double whammy for a driver. Cold tyres, cold track, and it's wet to boot.
Into the pits comes the 33, and there we see Oliver Jarvis coming in. And he's going to hand over to Frank Stippler. And this is going to be the crucial thing that may decide the outcome of this race, really, because it's the battle for the lead between the pair of them. Stops on his marks. And let's see how well it goes. Jarvis out already, strapping in his teammate. A little bit of a slow front right, potentially. It is wet going on this Audi. There is the rival Audi. That's the Audi we're concerned about. 32 car. He's still coming down the back straight as the left rear goes on. It's going to be close, but I think he's going to do it. Yes, out comes Frank Stippler, and he is going to take the lead of this race. Or retain the lead of this race, I should say, ahead of his teammate. So Stippler now leads, and Ortelli is second. Third place is now Marcus Winkelhock in the Al Enkel Mercedes. But the benefit Ortelli will have is that his tyres are now up to temperature. Driver change at number 2. Alvaro Parent getting in to replace Gregoire de Moustier, who really had a bit of an unfortunate first stint. Getting knocked off by the Ferrari very early on in what are tricky conditions for the McLaren. So we're hoping it dries up by the time we get to the championship race this afternoon. So here's our race leader then, Frank Stippler. As I say, Stefan Ortelli will have his tyres slightly more up to temperature. Well, you can see how much speed he's taking. Out of turn 10 they come. Then into this sequence of left-handers. Stefan Ortelli really has more pace than Frank Stippler at the moment. How quickly can Stippler get his tyres up to temperature? That's what it's all about, really. There is a dry line emerging as well. You can still see flicks of rain on the camera lens. As they come out onto the back straight, you can see the dry line emerging. Ortelli to the outside now. Stippler on the inside. Side by side between the two teammates for the lead. And in fact, Ortelli's got such grip off the corner, he might even be in front by the time they get to the braking zone. He is. Stefan Ortelli takes the lead of this race. Running a little bit wide on the apex into 15, but he gets the job done. And just like in Nagaro in the opening round of the season, the 32 passes the 33 for the lead of the race. Down into turn 1 they come, and Ortelli is already edging clear a little bit. So, and Ortelli's been held up quite a bit there by the back marker. That's Bjorn Grossman. Ortelli manages to get through in the end, but actually that's brought Frank Stippler back into the fray after Ortelli built up that gap of a couple of seconds. It's all been lost behind Grossman, and now Frank Stippler is well back within the chance of taking the lead of the race, and he's about to take the lead of the race up the inside into the left-hander at 13. Ortelli's still hanging on around the outside though. Great fair racing between the two teammates. Is Ortelli going to leave Stippler room on the outside here as well? Yes, he is. Brilliant stuff. They're going to go side by side down the long back straight. Frank Stippler on the outside with the red trim. The white wing and wing mirrors on Stefan Ortelli's car. Surely Stippler will have this done into the final corner, but the thing he needs to be careful about is the cutback from Stefan Ortelli. Oliver Jarvis satisfied because Stippler takes the lead, but not for much longer, because here comes Ortelli back to the inside line. Stippler tries to scare him out of it, but Ortelli is experienced enough to hold his nerve and retake the lead of the race. Brilliant battle for the lead between the two teammates. Jarvis not so happy now. So 14 minutes remaining, and Stefan Ortelli continues to lead. Here's a replay of a spin for Kirill Ladygin in the GT3 Russian Bear Motorsport car. He recovers, no harm done. The gap at the front has stabilised really between Ortelli and Stippler. Here's Alvaro Parent. Now that he's taken over the McLaren, he's lapping a lot quicker than the cars in front of him, and now he's sending one up the inside, going down into the final corner to try and get past the 17 car of Nicky Mermanov. Mermanov almost shutting the door. Oh, that's going to be a close one. They managed to sort it out, and Parent eventually, presumably, picks up the position. Less than 10 minutes to go, and Stippler's pace has dropped off so much that he's got Marcus Winkelhock right up behind him. Battle for second position is on as they come down the back straight. Marc Basseng watching on. His teammate Winkelhock moves to the outside to try and claim second position in the way he claimed second position in the last race at the Slovakia Ring, around the outside. Can't do it. Not this time anyway. Basseng urging him on. Now Winkelhock cuts to the inside, then back to the outside. This could be good for him actually, because Winkelhock breaks in the dry, Stippler breaks in the wet, and he's got the overlap, and he's got the move made into two, surely. Yes. Marcus Winkelhock moving up into second place then. Audi's dream of a 1-2 is over for now unless Stippler can find some pace, but he's dropped off so much in these last few moments, or in these last few laps I should say. Fred Makowiecki attacking Thomas Jaeger. Oh, look at the drive. The McLaren gets out of the corner. Fantastic stuff from Makowiecki, and he just drives plain past him. That McLaren really does have excellent traction. And he takes the position, moving himself up into fourth place. 5 minutes to go though. Final lap of the race. Fred Makowiecki has closed in on Frank Stippler. He's trying to find every way past possible, almost touching as they come through the left-hander at 2. Makowiecki's going to have to find his way past a very, very wide Audi if he wants to make it through. But meanwhile, up at the front of the race, it's going to be the race win for Stefan Ortelli and Laurens Vanthoor. It's only the qualifying race, but it's their first taste of victory, first taste of the podium since the opening round. There's second place Marc Basseng and Marcus Winkelhock. Here's the battle for third, and Frank Stippler has held it by the looks of things at the moment, out onto the final corner, unless Makowiecki can make it on the drag strip. He can't. And Philippe Dieudonné, you saw there in the centre, delighted that his cars have come home first and third. So let's take a look at the results. Audi R8 LMS first and third for Audi Sport Team WRT, with the Mercedes-Benz of allinkl.com, Munich Motorsports in the middle of them. This is also how the grid will line up for the championship race that we have coming up later today. It's usually a Saturday and Sunday, but today it's a morning and afternoon job. Makowiecki and Dusseldorp in fourth place, Jaeger and Pastorelli in fifth. But look at that, the championship leaders finishing down in 10th position. It's time for the championship race in FIA GT1's and the FIA's first visit to Russia. You might be able to tell from the position here at Camera One, but it's absolutely poured it down since we had the qualifying race earlier on this morning. And as a result, there's no doubt about which tyres they're going to be starting on. Track temperature 9.4 degrees centigrade. The air temperature 8.3 degrees centigrade. It is very chilly here in Moscow. So the race start, as we had this morning, will be slightly anticlimactic, as safety car starts always are. So away we go. The clock starts now as they pull away. Let's have a look at how the grid lines up then. It's on pole position, Stefano Telli. Alongside him, Markus Winkelhock in the Mercedes. Stippler and Makovicky are on the second row of the grid. Third row of the grid, we've got Thomas Jaeger and Alvaro Parent. Behind them, the first of the BMWs, Niki Meermanov and Enzo Eid alongside him. Tony Verlander and Jelmer Berman in 9th and 10th position, with 11th place going the way of Aman Ibrahim and Benjamin Riche. Down into turn 15 then, the race is about to get underway. Stefano Telli has lit it already. He's already gone. And the race, well, proper is about to get underway. 52 minutes remaining as the green flag falls, and off has gone Niki Meermanov at the very, well, final corner before he even gets to the first corner. So he loses a couple of positions as they come through for the first time. Difficult to see anything in this spray. Telli ran wide and he's lost the lead. Markus Winkelhock is through into the lead of the race here in GT1. The Ford GT goes wide as well. He's lost a position to the front-running GT3 car. But in the lead of this race now is the 38 car of Markus Winkelhock. He took advantage of Telli going wide at turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, unusual. Telli usually is bulletproof when it comes to driving in difficult conditions. Now coming under pressure from Frank Stippler directly behind him. So, and the McLaren of Makovicky, that 3-car bunch having their own little battle halfway round on what is the first lap.
Now we've got Fred Makovicky all over the back then of Telli with Stippler behind. So does that mean Makovicky has got past?
Parent's just got up through as well. He's just got past the second of the Alain Inkel Mercedes.
Yeah, so the two McLarens are on a bit of a move. Also on a move is Markus Winkelhock. He's loving these wet conditions. There is Parent trying to go around the outside of Frank Stippler, and he's managed to pull it off.
Well,
good move.
Alvaro Parent is the driver of all that is making the most moves. He's got the momentum. He had enough clear space between himself and the cars around him to get that momentum. Now coming down, looking on the inside into turn 15. Visibility pretty diabolical.
It's actually easier to look out of the window, and we're about to see a Ferrari make a move up the inside, and he manages to force his way through. Does Tony Verlander? Yes, he does, getting past Thomas Jaeger. Good move there. Down into turn 1 comes some cars, and there's a dart out to the inside, and that's Parent going up the inside. Really difficult visibility conditions here.
A safety car is being deployed.
So that's, I reckon Parent didn't see the safety car and has had to dive to the inside in avoidance, because it looked like a very dramatic.
The entire field appeared to slow down.
It's one of the BMWs coming in. That's Meermanov. I wonder if he's got a problem, because he's been twitching all the way around the circuit. Lights are off on the safety car. It will be in at the end of this lap, and then this race will be underway with Markus Winkelhock leading the way. Stefano Telli behind him. When will Fred Makovicky behind him, then Telli. Winkelhock gets this race back underway after the brief safety car period, under braking for the final corner. It's Winkelhock leading, Makovicky in second. Parent has got a great run out of the final corner. He can't overtake Telli before they get to the start-finish line, and he hasn't, so there's no worries about that. But as they come down into the first corner, they all know one's gone wide. One of the Audis has gone off wide there. Is that Telli again? Yes, it is. Telli has gone wide at turn 1, and he now loses out to Frank Stippler as well as Alvaro Parent. So Telli, surprisingly really, struggling a little bit in these conditions.
Well, I mean, he's done it consistently, so he must know what he's doing. When you're doing it once and making a mistake, the Ferrari now crewing up the inside of the Audi of Otello, and, Stefano Telli maybe unsettled, unseated by what's taken place, and he's lost that rhythm. He'll get it back shortly. In the meantime, we've got two McLarens now battling. Fred Makovicky in one car and Alvaro Parent, and I tell you, there's not a cigarette paper between them in terms of speed and ability. Alvaro Parent will want to put that car ahead of his teammate as quick as he can, and he has a look up now. Oh, very, very close. managed to avoid contact at turn 9.
I thought he was going for it there. He got up the inside, but
he was going for it.
Yeah. But it's great to see the two teammates battling hard. And look at that, Makovicky is not letting Parent pass at all. Parent's got a good drive though around the outside, and can he make the move stick into 12? Yes, he can. So Alvaro Parent up into second position. Makovicky's holding it in there though up the inside. He's got a good run out, and Makovicky is still in second place. Great battling here. This is going to allow Marcus Winkelhock to pull away a little bit. But the great thing about racing in the wet is there is grip on the outside. The inside person has the best line, the outside person has the most grip.
Well, Fred Makovicky's driving what I'd call the Danica Patrick line, holding the bottom of the racetrack and gaining by doing so. And we're seeing that Alvaro Parent taking the high line, trying to get the speed off the top of the corner and taking it, coming down into turn 15. Who has got the best position?
Parent at the moment is in that second place, and he holds on to it as they come across the line. Villander close to the back of Frank Stippler. What happened to Ferrari struggling in the wet conditions? That seems to have gone out the window. The pit stop window opened about a minute ago, and now Villander's trying to get around the outside. Then he darts back to the outside to get a better run down into 13. That's the back end kicking out all over the place. Keeps it all together. In comes Ortelli, not happy.
No, I think Ortelli's lost also the rhythm that the driver needs. Ferrari dives up the inside. Max Villander, that's the tennis player. Tony Villander, the racing driver, in the Ferrari, gets ahead of the second of the Irish, Frank Stippler.
So into the pits comes Enzo Eid, Stefan Ortelli, and also Nicky Melnoff. The BMW coming in at the far end of the pit lane. And this is the battle for the lead now. Alvaro Parent trying to send one up the inside of Marcus Winkelhock. Winkelhock on the outside holds the position for the time being as they now drop down the hill. Little look towards the inside again from Parent through the very, very fast turn 8. It's almost flat in the dry, but the back ends are stepping out as they tiptoe through it in the wet. Up the hill into 9. Parent looks up the inside. Later on the brakes than Winkelhock, and into the lead of the race goes Alvaro Parent in the Hexus McLaren.
As a driver change takes place, so
Thomas Jaeger handing over to Nicky Pastorelli. And unsurprisingly, wet tyres going on there. No real choice there, but Alvaro Parent has rocketed on up the road.
It's going to be interesting to see how Fred Makovicky can deal with the Mercedes. Again, the back of the car stepping out, coming through turn 8. How he can deal. He's going to look up the inside. He saw what happened previously. He's done it again.
Yep, good move from Makovicky. Winkelhock trying to get the cutback, but he can't quite manage it. So now McLaren, after qualifying first and second, big slide from Makovicky. That loses him a little bit of momentum. And also Tony Villander's going very quickly indeed. He did a 1 minute 56.5 on that last lap, which was quicker than anyone.
Well, Tony Villander had the fastest lap in the qualifying race by a substantial margin, but he thinks he's back in Finland driving on snow and studded tires.
Into the pits comes Winkelhock. Winkelhock into the pits. He will hand over now to Mark Basseng.
But you can see Tony Villander is right on the gearbox of that McLaren of Fred Makovicky, and I just wonder whether the team might opt to bring Makovicky in now and get that pit stop over and done with, and then let Parent come in at the last minute. One car is coming in. I think that will be Fred Makovicky.
Yes.
I should be a team manager, a strategist. I mean, it's not rocket science if I can work it out.
No, that's true. Into the pits comes Fred Makovicky then. He's going to hand over to Steph Dusseldorp. Those guys need to cross the road quickly, because in comes the number 1 McLaren, currently third place in the championship. Still in with a chance of winning the championship. Also in comes Frank Stippler to hand over to Oliver Jarvis. And in comes the Hexus car. Pretty quick with their pit stops at Hexus. And Dusseldorp will get in once the door is free from the wheel change.
Yeah, the airline seeming to sort of stopping the door getting opened and taking a little bit of time. Makovicky to get out. Steph Dusseldorp, a much taller driver. He needs a bit more space in the car. They take a seat filler out for Makovicky to let Dusseldorp get in. And our car's off the jacks. Fire the baby up. Come on, Steph, get it going. You've got a clear run out of the pit lane.
So Dusseldorp exits the pits. He was battling with this 38 car of Mark Basseng, but he's going to come out comfortably in front, actually. Mark Basseng not really getting up to speed very quickly.
In fact, Ollie Jarvis is probably going to benefit as well. Certainly, he'll come out behind the Mercedes, that of Marcus Winkelhock, but he's not going to, Mark Basseng, but he's going to get ahead of the second Mercedes, and that no, that's the second of the Ferrari.
Yeah, it's
458.
Castellacci, but these two are already up into their zone and into the racing speed and know what the circuit's like, whereas this is going to be a voyage of exploration for Oliver Jarvis as they come through turn 3 now. Jarvis is going to get swamped very quickly by these two. How quickly can Ollie get up to speed? That's going to be the interesting thing to watch out for. Into the pits they come. Hexis need a swift pit stop here. Demoustier in, Parent out. There's the driver they're battling ultimately for the lead of this race. Don't forget, we've also presumably, yes, we've got the number 3 Ferrari in as well, of Tony Verlander, handing over to Filipe Salaquada. So they're not out of the battle for second place. Can the McLaren get started? Yes, they appear to have cured those problems, which is good news. And this is going to be absolutely comfortable for Gregoire Demoustier. He comes out now as his teammate rounds the final corner. So Gregoire Demoustier comfortably leading. Who's going to be in second place? That's going to be the close one, because here comes Filipe Salaquada down the pit lane. The number 1 car of Steph Dusseldorp comes into turn 1, gets the car stopped, swings it in, runs a little bit wide, and he's in second place still. So McLaren 1-2, Ferrari third.
Gregoire Demoustier was fortunate because the timing of that pit stop has got him out in effectively clear rain as opposed to clear air.
Francesco Castellacci looking pretty racy, taking the karting line a lot more than those two in front. Basseng is struggling. There's Thomas Jaeger, not particularly happy with how the car was feeling, or something along those lines. But now here's his teammate Nicky Pastorelli trying to pass Marc Basseng going down into turn 15. Can't do it just yet, but Basseng gets out of shape on the brakes. Surely that'll be Pastorelli through into third. It is, and he pushes Basseng off onto the grass, and as a result loses a position to the Ferrari. He's not going to be a popular man.
I think it could be a P45 in the post phase soon for that little move. Not only did he lose the position to his teammate, but he let the Ferrari get through as well, and that is a no-no.
Yeah, Marc Basseng, I imagine, will be quite frustrated.
Well, not just that, the car looks less stable than the sister car does of Nicky Pastorelli.
Look, there's the snap that gets out of shape, but then Pastorelli gets through and just mercilessly, really, pushes him off the road.
Look at the lights flashing. Steph Dusseldorp doing everything possible to distract the young Frenchman, to force him into looking backwards rather than paying attention and concentration on what's going ahead. Now he moves up in the inside. Has Demoustier given him room, or has he realised he's even there? Whatever it is, he's gotten through.
Steph Dusseldorp takes the lead of the race with 20 minutes to go. There's his teammate Fred Makovicky on the pit wall. A win is exactly what they need, especially with Berman and Bartels not scoring strongly. But here comes Castellacci up the inside now of Nicky Pastorelli to move up into 4th place. Pastorelli gets the cutback, and Castellacci wasn't sharp enough for that. Needed to either park it on the apex or get back across to the inside quicker. As it is, the positions stay as they are. Pastorelli 4th, Castellacci 5th.
Yeah, that was good driving by Nicky Pastorelli. He saw the Ferrari making the lunge up the inside. He used the ability to cut back under the Ferrari, who was struggling for bite as it ran up to the top of the track. Let's look at it again. You see Pastorelli on the left, and the Mercedes, the Ferrari, struggling to slow down. Then it just washes itself up to the top of the racetrack, still off the throttle, at which point Nicky Pastorelli's got his foot buried in it. The ABS and the Mercedes-Benz giving the maximum traction that they can think about, and he's probably playing on the dial saying, I don't want this much traction control, I want to control the car with my right foot.
This battle continues. Castellacci now looking up the inside. Has he got the overlap going into 13? Yes, he has, but can he get his job done this time? The back end flies out again, but this time he should have made it stick.
Yeah.
Up the hill they come into turn 9. It is Marc Basseng in that car, I'm pretty sure. I just think I think he hasn't switched over the transponder, so the timing screens are still saying, yeah, the timing screens are still coming up with Winkelhock, but I can assure you it's Marc Basseng at the wheel of that car, and it's Ollie Jarvis at the wheel of the car behind, having taken over from Frank Stippler. And then it's Lawrence Vanthoor behind him. So the three of them really all closing up. They're all getting sideways as they come down. That's a little look up the inside from Jarvis. Late in the day, makes it through.
Yeah, but that was almost as if the door had been opened by Marc Basseng. And again, a little bit of contact between the two cars as they come through turn 14. Strange entry, but it was the exit out of 13. where the Mercedes actually went into what I'd call a proper power throttle control slide. Oh, contact, and the McLaren has been spun around. So Gregoire de Moustier did get tagged in the end by Philippe Salaquada, and that was a disappointment. They didn't need to do that, but maybe frustration on the part of Salaquada. Had enough of running behind the McLaren, and there was contact. Let's look again and see. The Ferrari's going to try and launch itself down the inside. It's only halfway along the car. That is what I would describe as an avoidable incident. He wasn't sufficiently far up to claim the corner. De Moustier rightly took his line. I wonder, will there be any penalty to Salaquada for that move?
And there's more contact. Round goes Nicky Pastorelli, pushed into a spin by Castellacci. The AF Corsa obviously got on the radio and gone, oh, just push him out of the way, lads.
Well, I mean, there's incidents that two Ferraris involved, one with the McLaren, one with the Mercedes. Nicky Pastorelli is looking to find where reverse gear is, so let's look again at that one. This time the Ferrari was just slightly further up of Castellacci but nonetheless, you know,
there was plenty of room on the inside. Down through turn 8 then, the lights flashing on de Moustier's car, presumably in the direction of Philippe Salaquada, to say, I'm not particularly impressed with that, but here comes the man on the move, Francesco Castellacci, closing in on de Moustier quickly.
And I just wonder, this Ferrari, it's struggling. It's a problem.
Yeah, because
Salaquada has pulled over, McLaren has gone through.
Unless, we'll wait and see, unless they told him to move over. No, it is a problem. You're dead right. You're dead right. This is a real problem.
Not again.
I know you hate to hear it, but you're right, John. The number 3 Ferrari has run into technical problems by the looks of things. Philippe Salaquada going very slowly indeed.
Most likely it'll be an electronic issue. Hydraulics are a smaller part of these cars. You can hear the carbon brakes. It's coming screeching to a halt. So looking under the engine cover,
Castellacci in 3rd place. There he is. The battle over 2nd place going on. So even if Castellacci makes it through, he won't be finishing on the podium because he has a 30-second time penalty. Through turn 8, down into turn 9. So this is going to be a nice little battle. It's ultimately irrelevant unless the two come together and de Moustier ends up in the wall or something. But it's this man, Stef Dusseldorp, who looks all set to win the championship race and haul himself and his teammate Fred Makowiecki back into contention, because Mark Bassang and Marcus Winkelhock are going to pick up, I would suggest, 10 points. So I think we're going to have Winkelhock, we're going to have Vita Vuon and Orlinkel at the top of the championship, joint on points, but Stef Dusseldorp wins the championship race here in Moscow Raceway, and that moves him into championship contention as well, along with his teammate Fred Makowiecki. It's going to be a 1-2 as well for McLaren. They had one at Navarra back in May. They're going to have one here as well. Down into the final corner comes Gregoire de Moustier. It was a 1-2 in the qualifying race in Navarra. It's a 1-2 where it matters here in the championship race. Brilliant stuff from McLaren and the Hexis team. Fred Makowiecki's always beaming, but he's beaming even more here. 3rd place across the line is the 458 of Castellacci. But into the pit lane comes Stef Dusseldorp and Fred Makowiecki. Their 2nd championship race win of the season after Navarra. And this is definitely moving them back into title contention. Look how important this is to them. And now the cheers for Gregoire de Moustier as well. So Stef Dusseldorp and Fred Makowiecki are race winners. They have moved themselves now back into championship contention, and there with John Watson.
Fred Makowiecki, how tough was that out there today?
Yeah, it's really great for us, especially after the race of Slovakia. We're coming back for the championship, and it was a really hard condition, especially with the tire. It was difficult to find a good pressure, and sometimes we can be really fast, sometimes we are really slow, and the window is really close, she really little, and we must work on this. But really thank you, McLaren and Hexis. They did a great job.
Excellent, Fred. Steph, you did a stunning job taking over for a great job that Frank had done. What was your story?
Yeah, he did an amazing start, and he took the first position, and at least after Alvaro, and you know, we did a great pit stop again. I overtook Greg while he was struggling with the temperature, and I think after this it was just going and going, create a little gap and driving home to P1 and score a lot of points again.
Well done, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Second place then, completing a perfect weekend for McLaren, Gregoire de Moustier and Alvaro Parent there with John.
Alvaro, before the race I said, why is the McLaren no good in the rain? You proved it's great.
Well, yeah, before the race we were speaking, and I told you that we had a great car in the first race, and we had an even better one in the second, you know. So the first stint was great. I was faster than everyone by a lot. So now I'm really happy, you know, for the team, my teammate and McLaren. So we were a lot faster and very competitive. Everyone's working hard, and it's working.
I thought you were selling me the corporate line. Gregoire, you did a great job under a lot of pressure, and you even got punted off at one stage by a Ferrari.
Yeah, it was a hard fight with the Ferrari. I have a good fun. Alvaro did the job. I just had to keep the place. So I'm very happy for everybody. We work well, so it's a good weekend for us.
And good for your confidence.
Yeah, good for my confidence.
Well done.
Let's have a look at the classified results. It was a win by Dusseldorp and Makovicky by some 25 seconds over their teammate. McLaren 1-2, Audi 3-4. The Ferrari AF Corsa machine, as I suggested, has now been put down into 6th position. Not a bad result for Winkelhock and Basseng. I think that will move them level on points at the top of the championship. We'll get that confirmation in a few seconds' time. Eden Castellacci in 6th. Berman and Bartels finishing in 7th place, so it won't actually, will it? Because Berman and Bartels picked up a couple of points, so that means they will still hold on to the lead of the championship. Valander and Salaquada retiring with 3 laps to go. The important trophies going to Steph Dusseldorp and Fred Makovicky, their second championship race win of the season. Fred Makovicky, one of the most winning drivers in GT1 history. And as the champagne is sprayed, it's a celebratory weekend. We're back in 3 weeks at the Nürburgring. Join us then.